So welcome to the Deal Final Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Gillian, your favorite Frenchman, and the CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. And as you know, it's the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we are on a mission to empower our property investor and the members to find another 1,000 deals this year, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. And the purpose with this Deal Final Corners is to give you more and the best of the available resources, of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. So it is my immense pleasure actually to introduce you to my very, very dear friend, Gillian Anderson today. So Gillian has been a wealth dynamic expert within the Genius Group since 2009, a certified flow consultant and leads wealth dynamic sessions for individuals and teams. So she co-authors Wealth Dynamics for Real Estate Investors with Simon Ducci and her husband, Steve, which we have on the call today. And through her expertise, she can interpret the wealth dynamics, all the wealth dynamic suites of frameworks. So she will help you understand yourself and know yourself better. She will help you do all things to do with people interaction. She'll help you understand couple dynamics with you and your partner, or help you with your business and teams dynamics, you know. So is everyone in the right role within your organization, and how can you optimize the team you have? You know, you have the right people on the bus, but maybe they're not quite at the right seat. So this is really where she excels at. And she specializes in business transformation. So Jill and Steve actually do both of these together. And they've added AI certification to their expertise for their consulting offering for small and medium-sized businesses. And they're focusing at the moment on property management and small business. So they have dual citizenship between Australian and British, and they returned to the UK in 2019 and have been my personal friends ever since. So I'm really pleased that Jill managed to find the time and make the time to prepare something for us and come and speak with us today. So what can we expect on today's episode? So we talk about property strategies that align with your natural personality and how you can help and focus on your strengths for greater results. We'll talk about how you can understand and combine the power of wealth dynamics and AI, which are two of Jill's expertise, and how you can use this to fuel rapid success and time savings into your operation and your goals. And then finally, we'll talk about how wealth dynamics will help you build a world-class team. So that's really important. We use this every day at Property Filter. I don't think there would be a way we would have grown without having this insight here. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing Jill and listen to our talk today. So please give a massive Property Filter virtual welcome to Mrs. Jill Anderson. Woo, over to you.
I've prepared quite a lot of information today, and it can be quite overwhelming. So I know that as a good presenter, you're supposed to have just pictures and very few words, but the way that I've prepared the slide deck is one that then I can send to anybody who wants it, and it will capture a lot of the information that I talk about. So that's not an apology for having too much on the screen. It's thinking ahead that people will want to find out more. And I also have a few gifts at the end that will help with that. So before I start, is there anybody who's online who'd be willing to take themselves off mute and tell me if they already know their wealth dynamics profiles and whether they have found it beneficial?
We can type it in the chat.
Okay.
As I say, I can't see the chat. Wealth dynamics. Okay, we get Steve to help you.
Okay. Is there anybody who's done wealth dynamics? A show of hands or something?
Mark, I think this is new for Matt looks at it's new. You go on, Mark, yeah, go.
Hi, yeah. You just want me to explain my experience of wealth dynamics?
Yes, please. Just so that others, so it's not just me telling people about it, it's somebody who's actually used it as well or is aware of it. That would be great. Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Honestly, I have to say, it's about 6-7 years ago when I became aware of and did the wealth dynamics questionnaire. And honestly, if I'd done that when I was 19, I think it's the type of thing that would potentially have changed my life. There's not many things like that, but it would have been around. The knowledge was there, I'm sure, when I was 19, unlike the internet, for instance. But that's how incredible it is. Ultimately, what it told me a lot more about myself, but it also told me a lot about other people. And the fact is, we all are different. We all have our parts of wealth dynamics that we're predominantly groups that we fit into, categories, and overlay sometimes. And in all honesty, some people can just do some stuff and other people can just not do it. And it kind of told me in life that people are predominantly just being the way they are, rather than doing something to annoy you in particularly. And so I thought that was a real watershed moment, actually. I thought it was absolutely incredible. So as a work tool, it's great. My business partner's done it, for instance, and so we kind of know where we're at each. And we've also given it to people that we've worked with closely. And the one interesting thing is, my business partner and I, it's kind of a bit like an odd-shaped 50-pence piece, the actual map of our dynamics, with a little airing towards star and supporter type of thing. Whereas a lot of other people's, it's kind of just almost like one big bullet point, or what do they call it on a graph? One big moonshot or whatever. In other words, some people are incredibly focused in one particular mindset, and kind of that's it. We noticed that we're predominantly fairly well rounded, with an airing towards star creators and support.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. That's exactly right. And I'll be going into that a little bit further, but I'm glad that you have found it useful. What profile are you?
Star.
And your partner?
Star support.
Okay, so you're very heavily, as you said, weighted on the blaze energy. So I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get into the teams, which is actually quite near the end of what I'm going to talk about. But it doesn't matter, as long as you know that you are going to be, you're not going to be in flow in areas that are more on the left-hand side of the square. And that'll probably be more meaningful as we get into it. But thank you, Mark. So
you're most welcome. Thank you.
So the objective, why is this not moving? Just a minute, everyone. There we go. So the objective for today is to learn how wealth dynamics is relevant to all of you on your property journey. Then we're going to explore why wealth dynamics is even more important as AI gets implemented in everyday life and in business, and to understand how wealth dynamics contributes to creating a world-class team. So a little bit of background. Wealth Dynamics is actually part of a suite of tools that were created, which are called Entrepreneur Dynamics. I'm not going to go into them all today, but within Wealth Dynamics, there's actually three types. There's the Wealth Dynamics, which is aimed at the business owner or senior manager, the Talent Dynamics, which is for teams, and then Teen Dynamics, which is for young people. The test or the assessment is exactly the same. It's just the questions, the way that they're phrased, and the report is different and is relevant more towards the different audiences. So with a little bit of history, Wealth Dynamics, as is most of the modern day psychometric testings, are based on the I Ching. Now, some people say it's 3,000 years old, others say it's 5,000, but it's pretty old, let's put it that way. It first came to the West by someone called Richard Wilhelm, who Carl Jung picked it up from. And as I say, most of the modern day psychometric tests are based on Carl Jung's work. However, Roger Hamilton, his mother's Chinese and his father's Scottish, great combination. He went to Cambridge University, so he's a very clever man. He actually went back to the original text of the I Ching and realized that Carl Jung had missed some of the subtleties, particularly around timing, around seasons, and around change, because I Ching actually means the book of change. So basically, wealth dynamics, it's portrayed as a square, but it's actually a pyramid. And the top of the pyramid is your spirit or your purpose or your goal, whatever it is that you want. And then from there, there are four key energies that make up your profile. And it depends on which of those energies you're most dominant in. And some people are very dominant in one, others are a lot, we call it squarer, have similar readings in each. Often that's because they're learned skills. But those four energies break down into 8 profiles. And So you've got your four, what I call the pure profiles: creator, supporter, trader, and mechanic. But just like the seasons, you don't go from winter straight to skip spring. It starts to get a bit warmer. The plants start, the winter has germinated the plants and they just start to grow before it moves from spring and it gets warmer into summer. And then it gets a little bit cooler as you move into autumn, and then you're back to winter. And if you think of it like a spiral going up, because each time you go around that square, or the seasons, things change. Things either get better or worse depending, but no one year is the same as the next. So you've got your four pure ones, and then you've got your four that are mixed of the two energies, which are star, deal maker, accumulator, and mechanic. In the interest of time, I'm not going to spend time going through all 8. I'm going to focus on the 4 energies, which is often enough just to get you started. So the fundamentals of wealth dynamics is trust and flow. Trust is where you're most trusted to deliver. Obviously, that's not talking about not being trustworthy, but it's what will you do when you're in your profile, that you're working predominantly in your profile, that you will just be trusted to produce. If you're what we call an accuser, then you're going to be much more detail focused. You love to research, so you're going to be pretty trusted, as project managers often are, to do risk management or to produce those reports that describe where projects are. Flow is your path of least resistance. If you're in flow, you'll find that time disappears, or at the end of the day, you've got more energy. People who are star profiles, for instance, they can be on stage presenting all day, and then they're just full of energy by the end of the day, and they're very happy to go out for the evening. Whereas if an accumulator or a trader were to be presenting all day, which they do, because we can all do everything, it's just how we manage our energy. But an accumulator or a trader, they probably have to go home and chill out at the end of the day because they've actually used all their energy out. And then there's enterprise flow, and this is probably a little bit of what Gillian was talking about. If you have your individuals in flow and in the right roles in their team, then the team are in flow. And if the teams are in flow, then the business is in flow. And the other underlying fundamentals is time, because it embraces the seasons of change. So here we go. This isn't working very well. There we go. So the 8 profiles, as I say, explained. I've pretty much already explained them, but it is that those seasons, it's moving around the square, and those with a lot of dynamo energy are very different to those who have tempo energy, those who have steel energy, etc. Now, I have been able to work with many people from the property world, and all of these profiles, and this is one of the report, this is page 2 of I think it's about a 50-page report that you get when you take your wealth dynamics assessment. But it's a good visual picture of the fact that each one of these people are in the property world, and they're all very successful, but they've all approached it in a different way. As you can see, the supporter one is very, very strong on the blaze, as Mark was referring to. Whereas others, like the deal maker, they've got a little bit more of a spread, and so is the trader. So what this is saying is you don't have to be one particular profile to be successful. It is knowing what your strengths are and also knowing what your challenges are as that profile that allows you to craft your property journey in a way that is going to best suit you and is going to lead you really on your path of least resistance. So just running through them. So dynamo, that's the spring energy. That's Some of the strengths are they think well on their feet, they're big picture, they're strategists, very quick thinking. Often a dynamo is on step 30 when everybody else is still on step 3, which is good, but it's also a curse, because I'm a dynamo and we're not the most patient of people, but we're very good at getting things started, but not necessarily at getting things finished, because we tend to chase the shiny pennies. But those with dynamo energy who are also got the influence of blaze, so they're the star people like David Beckham and Oprah Winfrey, they're very, very good at shining the light on things, on products, on services, on people, on causes. Oprah Winfrey, for instance, if you watch her show, you'd think that she'd been friends with her guests for 10 years, and yet oftentimes she's only just met them, because she's actually shining the light. She's had a deal maker or an accumulator do the research for her, and she's very quick at assimilating that information and being able to pivot however the conversation goes. Next, you've got the blaze energies. There's the sunshine. I do say to people like the one I showed you on the left, who are very blaze, I say you have to just recognize that some people have to wear sunglasses when they're talking to you, because you shine so brightly. You're absolutely full of energy, and you're very relationship focused. A blaze question is very much who. They are great leaders, they're people focused, they're very approachable, and they connect people. But their challenges are that they're actually easily distracted, and they need consensus for decision making, which is good. Again, these things are good on one respect, but if you need fast decisions, that's not so good. And listed here are some of the roles that are good for blaze people. One of our famous deal makers is, of course, Donald Trump, and Jack Welch, who's the first picture. He always said he didn't have any talents himself, but he knew how to bring out the talents of others. So moving on to the tempos. The tempos are autumn. So when people think of autumn, they think of the warm colours, the calming down, but also they're very much connectors. Their tempos are still very people, but not in the way that blaze people are, who are much more emotional. You'll find that a lot of people with tempo energy, predominant tempo energy, work in the care sector, doctors, nurses, care workers, and such like, because they're very nurturing, but they also have the ability to be a little bit more detached and less emotionally involved. Also, their tempos are very much about timing. Don't be late for, if you recognize that someone has a lot of tempo energy, then don't be late for a meeting, because that will really grate on them. And dynamos are always late for meetings, because we try and do too many things, because we overestimate what we can do in the time we have available. So tempos are those grounded people. They're good at the energies, the tasks which are repeatable, very good at customer service because they've got a lot of patience. They can be persistent. They're good at multitasking, but also timing wise. Some of the best traders in the world, like George Soros, is a tempo, and he reckons that he actually feels when the market's going to do something unusual. He actually gets a pain in his back. And he knows that something's happening because he's so attuned to his profile. And in the property world, the property managers, people dealing with the tenants, those negotiating the deals, they're very much tempo energies. Now, I've picked for pictures Nelson Mandela and Gandhi, who are, in some respects, they could be what you describe as benevolent dictators, because they are very firm. They know what needs to be done, but they'll do it in a way that's for the good of the people. And there's Warren Buffett there. He's what we call an accumulator, and he's never created a business in his life, unlike Elon Musk or Richard Branson, who have created hundreds of businesses. But he understands the timing, he researches, he does a lot of analysis of businesses that are fundamentally good businesses but may have management problems or something like that, and he knows exactly how to turn them around. And then the last are the steals. The steals are the detail people. They don't want to know what, they want to know how it's going to work. If you're a creator, if you're a dynamo and you've got an idea, you don't go to a steal first, because they're going to kill your idea often, because they're going to want to know, well, how's it going to operate? How's it going to work? And at that point, a dynamo person may not have got to that level of detail. So steals are brilliant at bringing in when your ideas has got a little bit of legs, and tempos can certainly help you with that. But steals are excellent at contracts, managing the finances, analyzing the market, all of those sorts of things. And they love the tools. They're very good at technology, architects, those sorts of things. Now, I'm married to a steal, and we can sometimes have some fairly healthy debates about things, but we know, because we've been together for so long now, we actually know that we see the world very differently. And so we're coming at a problem or a solution for something from very different angles. I'll use a lot of intuition and then work backwards to prove that my intuition is right. Whereas Steve, he will do a lot of analysis first. He'll want to think about it. He'll work out a process, and he'll also, because he's quite a mechanic, he'll also often find ways of improving what's my original idea. It can be very frustrating, but we get over it. So those are the 4 energies. And when working with Simon Zucci, who I think most of you probably at least are aware of, that he's a property educator, that we took the 16 property investing strategies that he teaches, and these are pretty common across most of the educators in the market. There may be a bit of tweaks, they may be called slightly differently, but we mapped them onto the square, onto the 8 profiles, and we looked at them from a residential and a commercial perspective. And it doesn't mean, I said at the beginning, it doesn't mean that you can't do anything. It just means that you're going to have a little bit more resistance. It's not going to go quite as smoothly as if you were working more in your flow. But the way around that is to either make sure that if, say, you're a lord and you want to do HMOs, that you have somebody on your team, maybe a JV partner, maybe a team member, or you are very hands-off to a property agent, and you can then actually follow the strategy you want. Steve, if you'd like to give a little bit of an example, because you're a lord and you own an HMO.
Yeah, so Jill says a lord, more mechanic. I've done the profile a few times, and you never change from one side of the square to the other each time you do the test. But I do flip between lord and mechanic depending on what time of the year it is, and whether I've had a good breakfast or not. But I'm predominantly mechanic, and what I found was that the profile that's next to me, creator, so I've got a bit of creator in me, and I actually really enjoy that BRR. So I love doing the refurb. I love to see, I like the process of getting to a result. I love the outcome. I like to stand back and look at all the finished product and say, yeah, I've done a good job. But then I've got to fill it with some tenants, and that's the HMO side, which is what I'm talking about, on the opposite side to where I am. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate dealing with tenants. I'm trying to figure out, is there a way to actually make money out of HMOs without having tenants? And I haven't found it yet. So if anyone knows how to do that, let me know. But what I have discovered, and by the way, just to round that off, I'm actually selling my HMO because it's that hard for me. Now, one might say, well, just go and find somebody who can manage it for you and look after it. But yeah, you get a property manager, but guess what? They keep coming back to me for answers, and I just don't want to be bothered. Now, what I have found, directly opposite mechanic, you'll see the words subdivide and rent out. And I've discovered that actually really appeals to me. I feel in my flow when I'm looking at a property, maybe it's a corner block and I want to split it and into two, or looking at a block of apartments that I can title split. It's actually splitting stuff that that actually really attracts me. So I'll be looking more at the subdivide strategy. So yeah, back to you, Jill.
Well, in fact, we're staying with you, Steve, because what we also did with Simon, but this was pretty much your work, was actually taking the different questions that the Wealth Dynamics, as you go around the square, asks, and applied it to the journey, the framework. So would you like to talk us through that?
This came about while I was coaching property people, and I'd actually start with, I'd say to them, what's your strategy? And they say, well, it's HMOs. No, that's not your strategy. It's either going to be cash flow or capital growth. It's got to be that. That's your reason why. Why are you into property? You're not into property to own HMOs. HMO is the vehicle you're going to use that's going to give you cash flow, or ultimately whatever strategy it is, it might give you the capital. So I always start with, well, what's your real objective? Okay, now given your profile, we talk about in the coaching we talk about what strategy appeals to you most, and we talk about all the 16, and that is, I can resonate with that particular one. Then we talk about, because it's Wealth Dynamics, then we say, okay, so who do you need in your team? And quite often we call them a power team. Who are you going to need in your team to help you with that strategy to make sure you get the objective you're looking for, to make sure you get the cash flow? Clearly, there's sources, if that's your approach, or partners, your mortgage broker, your finance broker, your town planner, and there's all these people who can help you. Now, you need to know up front what your exit plan is, because you can switch between one strategy and another. For instance, if you're into refurbishing and holding and going to HMO, you find it's not working, then you might want to flip it. So you are flipping changing from one strategy to another. The next question I asked him is, okay, now how are you going to acquire? How are you going to acquire that particular property? So there's different ways to acquire it. And that's like rent to rent is an acquisition. It's, in other words, how you're going to control it. And a purchase option is a way of controlling it, as is an EDC. You're controlling the duration by which you can get things done before you actually have to buy it. So the next step from the acquisition, so you know what your strategy is, you know who you need to help, you know what kind of strategy you're going for. You now know how to acquire it. Now, how are you going to fund it? And there are different ways of funding it. So it's another how question. I'm going to fund it with other people's money, my money, vendor finance, or whatever. So there's a whole range of different options there for funding. And of course, at the end, when you've got your product is ready, you then had an idea whether you were going to flip it, or you're going to hold it, or you're going to turn to SA, whatever it is. But you knew that at the beginning, because if you didn't, how would you know how to actually prepare that product? If you're going to do service accommodation, how would you prepare it so that it attracts the best short-term stayers? And Jill's just put there some obstacles you have to consider. Thanks, Jill.
Okay, so really, if you can answer those questions and base it around what your profile is, then you're actually going to have real clarity for going forward with your property journey. So that's really what I wanted to cover with Wealth Dynamics itself. But moving into Wealth Dynamics and the AI compatibility, they do actually align, because Wealth Dynamics really provides the clarity on where to focus and what to focus on, whereas AI delivers the data and the automation to get you there. And our little saying is better, cheaper, faster. And this is where AI has really come into its own in the last few years, because there's so much more of smaller type of tools that you can apply. You rarely actually apply one. It's a multiple of them. But AI assists by streamlining your workflows, and it supports your human intuition and decision making. I love this picture actually, where you've got all those different people with all those different profiles, and I love the Lord, you know, pointing to the detail. Well, that's what we call the human in the loop. They are actually using their collective knowledge or their knowledge to actually then take the data that the AI has created for them and actually using it to make better decisions. And AI tools, they can be tailored to support the specific needs of each of the profiles. For instance, by automating more of the routine tasks for an accumulator, they can get much more into the analysis and the research, or do something with the research, or predictive insights for creators for making their decisions or seeing which strategy they may want to go after. It all augments the decision making. It allows you to play more to your strengths because you're relying on the AI to do the heavy lifting for you. So another example is if you had a VA who previously was spending most of their time collating data, finding phone numbers, finding email addresses, and you've then got an AI that's actually is collating that information, maybe an AI-driven CRM, then the VA's job may change to be getting onto that phone and actually calling people. Now, if you've got an accumulator who previously was doing the research, the collating and such like, they won't be in flow making lots of phone calls, particularly if they're more cold calls. So there is another AI tool that you could actually use that will actually, you can use machine learning to be able to actually, you've fed in all your frequent asked questions and a lot of data, and it can actually respond in an auditory way to somebody. So if they ask, we're coming to a house on the main street in Coventry, is there anywhere to park? The AI bot will actually have that information in its database, and that can actually respond. So that's going, if you like, one step much further. The alternative would be that you may reassign your VA to other roles, and you bring on somebody who is much more comfortable dealing with people and loves that outreach. And then if you're a solo operator, it will help to reduce friction in certain areas where you struggle. So it's very much of finding the right tool for the right task. I did want to clarify what is AI versus automation, because there can be some confusion there. Automation actually moves data, and automation is using technology to execute tasks or processes without human intervention, and it's based on predefined rules or instructions, whereas AI will actually transform data. So it involves the machine actually mimicking human intelligence, and it learns from, it's continually learning from different data sources. So an example would be if you're conducting a webinar, you can have speech to text, where you can have real-time information being translated from English to French or English to actually 190 different languages using a product called Wordly. So suddenly there's no restriction to language when it comes to having a global presence. There's 6 types of AI that from a user's perspective. There's actually several types from a technology perspective, but I didn't want to go into all of that. It gets quite technical. But most people will be using text at the moment. I'm sure most of you who are on the call have experienced either Chat or Gemini or Copilot. They're 3 of the main, what we call LLMs, large large language models. But there's text, there's image, there's video, audio, and then there's a lot of action. And I haven't actually listed any tool names against action because there's just so many of them. And the same really with productivity. And these actually, there's over 13,000 tools that are on the market. And you can actually break them down to about another 60 categories. And we fortunately belong to a group that has a research team that actually, they are constantly looking at new tools, and they have provided us with a tool in itself that gives us the best of breed. And these are just a few of the categories. It goes on and on. As I said, it's about 60 of them. So it's rare that you would just use one tool. Yes, at the moment, if you just need the text to rewrite your emails or your blogs or something, then if you think of it in karate terms, then you're okay being a white belt or a yellow belt. But if you really want to automate your business so that you're just left to those higher level decisions, and you can move right up to be a green or a blue or a black belt. So it's really horses for courses with AI. And there's a process that you can follow, or this is what Steve and I are doing now, working with companies. It's identifying the areas which have the most impact. The Pareto's law is very prevalent in this. 20% of your processes will probably take you or your teams 80% of their times. So the 6-step process is very much to identify it, then to document, to break down those process steps. And you can do some redesign, often even without bringing in any new technologies. Then you look at the strategies, the different strategies and the different AI options. You then develop the systems, and then you implement the solutions, and normally like 1 or 2 at a time, because you need to train the team. But it's also continually monitoring and tweaking to have that excellence. So AI is going to make a difference to every one of us. It's what level we choose to embrace in order to remain competitive, to stay on top of the curve, really, to stay on the wave. You don't have to, as somebody said to me the other day, drink the AI Kool-Aid, but just know that it's already in all parts of your world. But you can now take advantage of it at much more reasonable prices than 3-5 years ago. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to quickly move on to building a world-class team.
Just before you do, Jill, there's something that Gillian put in the comments. So just go back to it just for a second. So what we've covered there, folks, is that we don't have to change anything there. Is that there are those major categories. So there's these large language models, which is largely text-based. That's what large language is about. But within that, you've got categories like this text to text, this text to image, this image to text, this text to speech. So there's a whole bunch of subcategories within that, and there are tools that do each of those specifically. But what's more important about understanding with AI, when you want to implement it into your business, this is the first thing to think of. ChatGPT is output based. You ask a question and you ask for some information, you'll get it. Like, can I have a formula that does this, this, and this in Excel, and you'll get an answer. It's output based. Then you have outcome based. So outcome based is where a range of different tools come together. So even though you're in ChatGPT, if you use the extensions, like there's another AI called Quill, if you attach Quill to it, Quill will actually give you a better outcome while you're doing prompt engineering than you trying to think up how to actually key in the question you're going to ask. And we ask a question it's called NLP, and it's not neural linguistic programming, it is natural language processing. And how natural language processing works is really, really, really important for getting the correct prompt to get the outcome that you want. So it's different to an output. We're talking about outcome. So outcomes need better and more improved prompt engineering. The next level from that only really came in at the end of last year, 2023, when the APIs were introduced into all or a range of the various AI technologies, because they can now communicate with each other, passing information across. So agent is the third level. And we're now at what we're calling the deep analysis level. And if anybody are interested in just how far we've come in the exponential curve of introducing AI into our everyday lives, look up the one Strawberry. Look up Strawberry AI. You will be blown away by the power. It's not released yet, can't use it, but by the power of Strawberry in actually giving you a solution. So their first level is output-based, outcome-based, and then you've got the solution-based. So much more improved. And what Guillaume said in his message was, one day we'll have bots ringing our agents. We actually saw a real example of this just a couple of weeks back, where the demonstration was talking to a voice bot. And so chat bots, as we know them, when you see the little chat box on the bottom right corner of sometimes on webs, they're linear. They're based on questions. If you answer this question this way, then I'll take you down this path. Whereas chat bots, from an AI perspective, have got so many thousands of data points that you can take it down any particular path. So the example that was used was the guy rang up. He was asking that it was our mentor. He rang up the company, and then the bot answered. And the bot talked to our mentor just like a real person would. The mentor said, "Look, I'm due to come to a session. It's in Chicago. Can you tell me if there's any car parking?" Bot then asked, "Just give me a moment. What date are you attending?" And they were having this interaction. The bot then came back and said, "I'm sorry, sir, we don't have you booked in. There is no webinar at the Chicago." And he said, "Oh, sorry, I got it wrong. It's the Chicago Hotel in New York." "Hang on a minute," she said, went away, came back. Now, you might think this is all just pre-recorded. It actually wasn't. It was a bot actually taking all the knowledge it knew about how it had been taught to respond by the bot owner. And then it came back with, "Yes, you've got parking. It'll be $20 a day." And judging by the type of course you're going on, so you can see that this bot was picking up lots and lots and lots of data points about what program, how long it's going to take. And she said, judging by the program, you'll need 4 hours of parking. That'll be $20. I mean, this is just brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, that was enough of that. I just wanted to demonstrate how, if you're using bots to call up agents or call up potential property sellers, this will do it for you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So just moving on to building a world-class team. Wealth Dynamics actually has a formula that helps you to identify who are the people that you need in your team. So I'm using the example of Florian, who was one of the co-creators of Property Filter. Now, he and I believe his brother are both mechanics, very much mechanics. And when the business really started to take off, when Gillian came on board with his star, and he's the face, as well as obviously the brains, in the team of Property Filter. But it didn't get legs until Florian recognized that he needed that star to really bring it to the world. And then the third person that would be needed in that team is a trader, a tempo person, who could then do the repeatable, the customer service, the ongoing work. Now, obviously, the Property Filter team is much bigger than that. So you already, I've got the right slide up. So they have people in all the different profiles to do different tasks. But when starting out, the formula is 2 around from where you are and then 3 around. And I've just put up here a chart to make it easy. So a creator needs a support, an accumulator, etc.
And Jill, if I may, this is exactly what we did because we met you, and it's been a game changer. So this is exactly what we did because we weren't always 35 or 40, right? So when we saw it was just a few of us, and that's exactly what we recognized and what we did. So yeah, thanks a lot.
So it does work, as you can see, and there's many people who have taken this on board, even very much within families. And I could wax lyrical about families and couples and things like that, but we don't have time. So one of the things that Mark said at the beginning was it wasn't just about knowing your own profile, it's recognizing the profiles or the predominant energies in others. And so I've given you these couple of that really, if you're working with somebody, it's understanding what they need. So if somebody is very much about growth and significance and recognition, significance doesn't mean ego necessarily, but it means recognition, then chances are they're going to be more of a dynamo energy and such like. But one of the important things is recognizing what stresses them out if you have a team, and that's what people management is about, really. It's managing people, because they're the ones who can make or break your company. Technology can run a business, but people run to the technology. And then selling, if you're working with, and it's not just end clients, but agents, trades, all of those things, because you're selling ideas to these people. If you recognize that, if you can start to really embrace the different energies, you'll find that the way that you communicate with them is important. You wouldn't, for somebody who is asking a lot of detailed questions, you don't want to be focusing on the big picture all the time, because they're not interested in the big picture. They want to know how it's going to work. So one of the keys is just the simple questions. What type of questions are they asking? Are they asking more about people? Because on the right-hand side of the square, it's more about people. On the left-hand side, it's more about data. So are they asking who questions, or are they asking about where and when? And that will give you some clues that you can start to adjust your communication and your energy. Because if you've got a lot of blaze energy and you recognize that you're working with somebody who's a steel, you've got to tone it down, and vice versa. Steel people, if it's important that they build a relationship with a blaze person, they've got to ramp it up in order to have that rapport. So those are a couple of things for building your high-performing team. We use the wealth dynamics very much in the recruitment process, and I actually have a whole process for recruitment that uses AI. It's one of these GPTs within the paid version of ChatGPT that used to take me about a day to put together the job description, the questions to ask, the advert, even recognizing which platforms to advertise on. Because like I was looking for an engineer, just using Seek or one of those, there are specialist platforms, and the GPT told me what those platforms were, even round to onboarding, what to do with the onboarding. So whereas that would have taken me nearly a day to put together, in 15 minutes I had the whole lot. Because it helped me build the job description, and then from there it could create everything else. So obviously the job description, you want to reflect the wealth dynamics profile that you're looking for that particular job. So it's all interconnected. And just to finish off, I showed you at the beginning the entrepreneur dynamics slide. Well, one of the parts of entrepreneur dynamics is the wealth spectrum, or the wealth lifehouse. And your wealth dynamics actually, again, helps you to move up, to grow as a business. But that's a whole nother presentation for another time. I did just want to close the loop on that one. So I have some thank you gifts for you. I've talked about the 4 energies and also the 8 profiles. To define your 8 profiles, which really is the power, if you like, behind using this knowledge. but at least knowing one of your predominant energies is a help. So I have a free test that you can do if you want to take either the URL or the QR code that will help you to, and it is this test. I've done it in a tool called Score App, which is Daniel Priestley's tool, and that will at least tell you which of the 4 energies is your dominant energy. I've also I've written an ebook which is Wealth Dynamics, and it's about wealth dynamics and property investing. Now, I blew up the Anatomic Consulting website yesterday, so the landing page is gone at the moment. So if you want a copy of this report, then just drop me an email and I'll send it to you. I'll be happy to send it to you. And lastly, my other gift is the prompt engineering that Steve was talking about. The more you can craft your prompt to get the output that you want, the more you craft your prompt, the better the output. So this is a cheat sheet that gives you some hints and tips as to how to craft a better prompt. So those are my 3 gifts. One of them you can go directly to Score App and take the assessment. And the other 2, if you email me and also for a copy of the slides, I'm more than happy to send them out to you. And I'll get my landing page fixed at some point soon, hopefully. So that's it. And any questions?
Jill, thank you so much. Thank you. That was really useful. And I think people ask me a lot of the time, like, were they like pivotal moments, you know, when you sort of grew from being the son of a teacher and a social worker on your entrepreneurial journey and things like that? And definitely the day I was introduced to wealth dynamics changed a lot of things. You know, you talk about Florian. Florian's a friend of mine since 20 years. And there's lots of things we've done together, but it always made sense. And it's only when we got introduced with wealth dynamics that, you know, it's just like, okay, this is it. This is the science behind it. And now all the team members we hire, everyone does the test as part of the interview process. And then everybody sits on the right place, the way we interact with people, the way I have this healthy confrontation with Florian, you know, within PropsFilter. So Florian, you might speak with him in the chat. You might speak with him anytime you have a product feedback on anything you want to change on PropsFilter. It really runs the whole company in the way we are organized. And I'm here on the go, going to speak at some events, and everybody works in flow. And I think a big secret to our the success of PropsFilter has been that all of us have been working in flow. And it started with the 2 of us, the 3 of us. And now, you know, there's a lot more of us now, but there's no way we would have, you know, and if you think we have very little turnover, you know, compared to other companies, you know, people stay a long time, you know, we don't really need to fire people or things like that. And it's very much because we put people in the right place on the bus. And it's a lot of it, you know, I would say 80% of it is based on these frameworks. And I know you do a great job. You've helped us many, many times, Jill, because on the team's dynamics as well, just on a personal level as well as really interpreting the report, because you get 50 pages and it's like they put you in the box where they say you're a star, you know, but there's a lot of subtleties. And I think it's really worth it, worth spending some time with you, sometimes going into more details. I don't know if you still do these, but these were quite valuable. I know, so
yeah.
So yeah.
In fact, in the back of the of this book, the wealth dynamics and property investing, I actually list the different services that I do, and so that if anybody is interested, they can contact me.
Is that a PDF?
It's a PDF.
Ebook?
It's a PDF.
Okay.
Yes.
I remember when you were working on it, but I didn't realize it was published and finished. So I'll take you on that offer as well. Definitely. Yeah, I know what goes into these things, and then our impact it was for us. I'm walking and talking testimonial for you, what you do and your work. So yeah, it's been really helpful for us, definitely. So, and then a lot of, and this is really for everyone. A lot of the times at the momentum calls or when I meet you guys in person, and you ask, you know, like, oh, I'm not too clear on my strategy, or what should I do, and I always go back to this, you know, like, why, you know, like, and then what are you trying to achieve? You know, like what, and then I really follow this, right? So for, the big secret is working in things you are in flow. So if everything you do is a big effort, you can't do it for 5 years, 10 years, you know, so find something that comes naturally with you, you know, in terms of a team or teams of people you attract working for you, or partnerships. Find people with similar values to you, who want the same goals, but are complementary, you know, have the same work ethics, I would say, as well. Because a lot of the time you find, oh, these are people on the wealth dynamic spectrum which are complementary to me, but actually it doesn't matter which profile you are. If you don't work as as much as me, or if you don't put as much into it as I do, it's really hard to make it work. But anyway, so all of these have been really super useful for us, definitely. So I'm really grateful we managed to get some of your time to present to the Property Filter community today. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and I love presenting it because I do believe so much in how it can take the personal side, the animosity out of relationships. I think Mark mentioned that in the beginning. You realize that people see the world differently, and it's not you that they're struggling with or they're opposing. It's actually that they don't see the world the same way as you see it. Because
yeah, Mark put it really, really well. Yeah. Thanks a lot for that as well, Mark.
Are there any questions?
I've not seen any questions. I think people were really focused on everything you were talking about. Any questions for Jill whilst we have her? Good. Well,
do send me an email. It's Gillian@anatomic.consulting. No .coms, no .co.uk's, just .consulting. And I'll be happy to send you the slides, the ebook, the PDF, and the prompt engineering cheat sheet.
I'm writing you an email right after this. Okay, thanks so much. Do you have a closing sentiment for today, Jill?
No,
I do. Like, why are you writing that email? Why isn't your AI writing the email?
Yeah, I say I, but it's gonna be probably someone in the team, right? So, but yeah, I don't want to show off. No, no, I'll take you on that offer, definitely.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks so much, guys, for coming and being a well-engaged crowd as usual. Really appreciate it. So thank you, Jill, for presenting. It was good to have Steve as a bonus. I know all you guys are busy, so yeah, very much grateful you guys took the time to present to the Property Filter community. So thank you everyone for joining us on today's Deal Finder Corner. You know, take on Jill's offer. You know, just you know, ask for a copy of the site and things like that. These are great people. You know, very dear friends of mine, and I don't say this lightly. So there's not going to be any wishy follow-ups or anything. I genuinely want to help. You know, so that I'll trust them with. I literally trust them with my daughter, right? So this is happening fast. In the meantime, visit propertyfilter.co.uk, log on to your Property Filter account, have an endless supply of deals, join the top 1%, and become a high achiever deal finder. Do more deals in less time. I hope you enjoyed today's Deal Finder Corner like I did, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon and next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the feedback. Bye-bye.